They lived in a host of tribes as farmers, traders, and nomads. What first united them was Islam, founded by the Prophet Muhammad. They conquered an empire that spanned 3 continents. In their capital, Baghdad, they founded the House of Wisdom, an oasis of scholarship. They transmitted the learning of the ancient world and the East to Europe. Whether it was medicine, architecture, or astronomy, as patrons of science, they were far ahead of their contemporaries. In ancient Arabia, there was one high god and many local gods. People feared the jinns, demons who lived in the darkness. The chief god of Mecca was Hubal. At his side were Alat, a kind of goddess of war, Al-Uzza, the goddess of the morning star, and Al-Manat, the goddess of destiny. Trees and springs, and often stones, were sacred objects. Some, like the black stone on the Kaaba, were said to have fallen from heaven. After Muhammad's death, Arab armies pushed north. They destroyed the Persian Empire and drove the Christian Byzantines out of large parts of the Middle East and North Africa. They conquered an area stretching as far east as Turkmenistan and the borders of China. In the west, they overran North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula. They stormed Sicily and invaded southern France. In the 8th century, the Arabs ruled a world kingdom that was larger than the Roman Empire. The Arabs founded the medical specializations of dentistry, pharmacology, anatomy, and surgery, all of them disciplines that were still to be developed in the West. Arabic textbooks were compulsory reading for centuries. Above all, Avicenna's Canon of Medicine, and of course the Encyclopedia of el-Zahrawi, who was better known to Europeans as Abul Qasis. It was only when bacteria, viruses, and parasites were discovered that the next completely new era of medicine began. By the beginning of the 13th century, the most important books of the ancient world were completed. The works of the brilliant Ptolemy, the standard works of the fathers of mathematics Archimedes and Euclid, and the philosophy of Aristotle. In addition, there were the writings of Persians, Indians, and Arabs, ranging from mathematics and optics to medicine and philosophy. The translation of their books raised Europe's knowledge to an entirely new level. The knowledge of the Arabs spread like a wave from Spain and Sicily, which was under Arab rule for a long time, but also from Istanbul. An intellectual golden age followed, leading to the founding of several universities during the Middle Ages. Scholars, artists, and creative people were drawn to the Córdoba court as if by a magnet from all over the Arab Empire. Word got around that the arts and sciences were promoted there, and that talent was handsomely rewarded. The new star was a musician and free spirit by the name of Ali ibn Nefa, known as Ziryab, the Jaybird, because of his beautiful voice.
Sahar!
Ziryab came to Spain from Baghdad via North Africa in 822 AD. He was a cosmopolitan with a knowledge of many fields. He wrote poetry to accompany his melodies, and he showed society in the Emirate what the Eastern lifestyle was like. Ziryab introduced the people of Córdoba to Eastern fashions and taught them to change their clothing according to the occasion and the season. He urged men to groom their beards, to clean their fingernails, and to use deodorant. He showed them how delicious asparagus was, how to play chess, and how to drink wine out of crystal glasses. He advocated the 3-course menu. He was the trendsetter of his age, a cultural guru. But above all, Ziryab revolutionized music. The oud he brought with him evolved into the guitar, the key instrument of Spanish music, particularly flamenco. And he established Córdoba's first music school for men and women.
أهلا أستاذ زرياب.
أهلا وسهلا، مرحبا بكم. عبد الرحمن، هيا ابدأ بالمقطع الأول.
حبيبي مهما غبت ومهما بعدت ومهما سافرت ومهما غبت يا روح عني قريب مني.
صوتك سيء يا عبد الرحمن. ولذا هذه طريقة الغناء.
حبيبي مهما سافرت ومهما بعدت ومهما غبت يا روحي عني قريب مني.
The scholars of Andalusia stimulated innovations in every field. Ziryab's patrons also sponsored Ibn Fairness, a court poet and multi-talent. He initiated the first known attempt to fly. The later Caliph El-Hakam II had a library built that is said to have housed 400,000 books, more than in the rest of Western Europe put together. Many Moorish scientists were polymaths, writing on astronomy, philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and mechanics. Not only Muslims, but also Jews and Christians took part in this research, and even women working as translators or librarians.
The term Arabic science to define this period is very important. Notice we don't call it Arab science because many of these scholars weren't Arabs. They came from different parts of the empire. Many of them, for example, were Persian. We also don't refer to it as Islamic science because many of those scholars were not Muslims. They were Christians, Jews, and many others. So it doesn't matter what religion these scholars practiced or which part of the empire they came from. But what united them was the lingua franca of the empire at the time. Arabic was the official language. It was the language of the holy book, the Quran. And therefore, everyone, if they wanted to succeed in science and scholarship, had to write in the Arabic language, in the same way that today, international science is English.
Muhammad urged his followers to strive for knowledge from the cradle to the grave. There was probably no one who took this as seriously as the Caliph El-Ma'mun.
سيدي انظر مثل ما قلت لك يا سيدي.
El-Ma'mun ruled in Baghdad in the 9th century. He had a dream to make his city the greatest center of scholarship in the world.
تكرر مرة ثانية.
تعال انظر. أليس هذا رائعاً؟
نعم يا سيدي. دائماً. دائماً.
It was El-Ma'mun's great-grandfather who had laid the city's foundation stone. Baghdad was built between the Euphrates and the Tigris, on an important trade route in what is now Iraq. The metropolis was probably planned as a round city. All its districts were arranged on a ring-shaped ground plan, and all its roads led to a gigantic central square that contained the Caliph's palace and the central mosque. Baghdad quickly expanded beyond its original walls. In 800 AD, the city had around 1 million people, making it one of the largest cities in the world. It was a magnet for specialists and scholars from far-flung lands. a haven of invention and scholarship.
It seems that the Caliph al-Ma'mun was completely obsessed with science and scholarship. He brought together a group of astronomers. He commissioned them to write new star charts. He was aware of the astronomy of the ancient Greeks and wanted to go beyond it, so he commissioned the building of new observatories in Baghdad and Damascus. It's said that he had a dream early in life, that the Greek philosopher Aristotle came to him and told him to seek knowledge wherever he could. And from that moment on, I think he devoted his life to science.
Roman numerals could not be used for direct calculations. For that, coins and lines were needed. For example, adding 126 on the left and 157 on the right. Each number is divided into hundreds, tens and ones, with the 5s and 50s on lines in between. 3 ones make 3, 2 5s make 10, so 1 coin has to be moved up. With the 3 10s, the 50 and the 200s, it makes 283. It's pretty complicated. With the new numerals, it was much easier. 126 plus 157 equals 283.
What Al-Khwarizmi did for the very first time was talk about the unknown quantity. Today, we would call it x in algebra. He said, for example, if you have 2 times x and add 1 to it, if that answer is 5, he then gave the set of instructions that allow us to determine what x is. So for example, here we would say, well, let's subtract 1 from both sides of the equation. So on the left, we only have 2x, and if I take 1 away from 5, I have 4. The next step is to divide both sides of the equation by 2. So all I have now is x, and on this side I have 2. And here we have our answer. The x is revealed for this particular case to have the value of 2. We only get there by following Al-Khwarizmi's algorithm.
Neither mathematics nor physics could work without formulas. Einstein expressed his theory of relativity in the famous formula E equals mc squared. The modern age would also be unthinkable without algorithms. Every computer and calculator works on the basis of algorithms. Translated into programming languages, they are the basis of the digital world. There is hardly anyone these days who doesn't use apps or a computer. They are indispensable, even in the remotest parts of the world. The introduction of Arabic numerals put an end to calculations with Roman numerals. The word cipher, from the Arabic for 0, still reminds us of the mathematical legacy of the Arabs. Of Spain, the expansion of Arab power in the northwest reached its peak. The new ruler was from the Umayyad dynasty. He founded the Emirate of Córdoba, the first Arab empire to be independent of the caliphs in the east. Córdoba, the new Umayyad capital, soon became the largest metropolis in Europe. The caliphs commissioned huge buildings, masterpieces of Moorish architecture. One of them was the Córdoba Mosque, now a cathedral and a World Heritage Site, like the Alhambra Palace in Granada. Andalusia benefited enormously from the new rulers. The Arabs introduced many previously unknown crops, including citrus fruit, artichokes, cotton and rice. And they taught the farmers how to irrigate more effectively. They introduced the hundreds of windmills that are today the symbol of Andalusia. The Arab Empire is long gone. The stories of a once magnificent Baghdad and its caliphs, with their thirst for knowledge, are embellished and retold, but they no longer have any connection with the lives of most people in the Arab world. More than 400 million people now live in the Arab League countries, spread over Africa and the Middle East. Most of them live modestly. Only a very few are part of a vast glittering world. For the most part, Arab society is no longer cosmopolitan. Many conservatives reject science as Western and incompatible with their faith. A faith that was once taken out into the world from Mecca by the Prophet Muhammad, who reportedly said, "The ink of the scholar is holier than the blood of the martyr."
I think given today's political climate, it's certainly important for us in the West to appreciate that there was a time when the Arabic-speaking world led the rest of us when it came to science and scholarship. But it's also important in the Islamic world, particularly for the next generation of young Arabs, to appreciate their own cultural heritage, that their ancestors once could have been spoken of in the same breath as the greater scientists such as Newton, Einstein and Galileo.
Beside its Greco-Roman and Judeo-Christian roots, Europe also has roots in a third culture, the Arab-Islamic one. It was Arab scholars and rulers who collected the knowledge of the ancient world over 1,000 years ago and continued to develop it. They promoted global scholarship, the free exchange of ideas beyond political and religious borders, to develop knowledge that still serves all of humanity.